So I just look at my phone. I was like, oh, let's say I'm in prep right now of 2 washers, 3 sterilizers, computer stations. Oh, they added the computer stations. I need the assets number for that computer station just in case I want to put a service repair. So I add it next to the computer stations. Oh, is it connected to a paper scanner? Is it connected to a barcode scanner? The assets for that one as well, because everything is worth money and everything is connected.
Rising above the buzz of ultrasonic cleaners and the clanking of stainless steel are the ideas and voices that are changing an industry. You're listening to the Beyond Clean podcast, the central nexus for the people, processes, and products that are improving our sterile processing world. Each week, we speak with frontline technicians, CEOs, engineers, and entrepreneurs with a common goal to help you fight dirty every instrument, every time. Whether you are tuning in for education or inspiration, we're glad you did. Now turn on those washers and turn up the volume. It's time to go Beyond Clean.
On this episode of the Beyond Clean podcast, we're going to speak with Osama Alsadawi, the Assistant Chief of Sterile Processing and Beyond Clean Advisory Group member, and we're talking about the concept of mind mapping. Bobby, we're going to crack your head open and see what your mind looks like, or I don't know, we're going to figure out what it is. Maybe that's not what mind mapping is. We'll see.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting visions of like mind palace memory techniques and things like that, but I suspect it has more to do with processes and workflows. I'm excited to jump into this one.
Yeah, no matter what, we know it's going to have relation to data because that's the theme of this season. And so, yeah, the mind, the data, and sterile processing, we're going to mix it all up in a big old stew. And Osama's going to serve it up to us here in just a moment. So hang with us, and we'll be right back with Osama Alsadawi.
I'm Justin Poulin.
And I'm Hank Walsh.
From 17 Studios, you're listening to Beyond Clean, the global voice of sterile processing.
Joining us now is Osama Alsadawi, the Assistant Chief of Sterile Processing, and we're going to be talking about mind mapping today. We stumbled upon each other, Osama, through LinkedIn, which happens a lot in these interviews. And you're just talking about technology, a lot of insights, like we'll hopefully get into some of the other solutions and things that you developed at the end of the interview. But it was this mind mapping discussion, and I think we had on the floor of the expo in Nashville that really sparked that, hey, we got to get you on the podcast to talk about mind mapping and the implications it has in your department and in the industry. So with all that, let me welcome you first to the Beyond Clean podcast. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. Appreciate it.
So for those who may not know you yet, give us a little bit about your background and your journey into sterile processing and what brought you into the industry.
My name is Osama Alsadawi. I've been in sterile processing since 2015. So technically, I'm new in this field in terms of years of experience. Yet I've seen a lot of knowledge to be gained and processes to be understood, and realize that there's a major space for improvement and to grow that might not look for a lot of newcomers, but actually there is a lot to be done in our field, which is what fueled the passion since I started.
Yeah, it's really interesting. As a new person, it can be easy to think, hey, like I'm starting this industry, I don't know anything about it. And everyone in the industry already has it figured out, right? Like they know what's going on. They know the direction of everything. And then the more you get to know about sterile processing, like you said, the more you realize, no, there's a massive opportunity to change all kinds of things about the industry, from the human resource side to the tech side to the education side to the media and culture side, like you name it. It's all up in the air, and a lot of people doing a lot of cool things out there. So it really is a really exciting time to be in the industry, and just an exciting industry itself. But let me ask you, because we're going to be talking about a lot of technical stuff, like how did you get interested in technology and all this data stuff? You come from kind of a technology background before?
Not at all. It's just a hobby, seeing all these other industries that have similar tools. While going to your shift, you'll be like, what if we have similar, transferable? Because most of the stuff in sterile processing is brought from other industries, like leak testing from like the electricians and stuff like that, steam validation, a lot of plumbing, a lot of electricity, a lot of computer when it comes to tracking. So you see, it's like a hybrid field that, like a melting pot for a lot of industries. And every time you see something that you had an issue or a problem that you're trying to solve or tackle, or if there's a better way of doing it, you look it up, and there's other industry that already figured it out, like inventory management. You walk into a Home Depot, and then it's like, wow, how they got everything by aisle, by number. Just on the website, you can pinpoint where the item is. So that kind of thinking what sparks the whole idea.
Yeah, I think that's really wise, sourcing from other industries. And we agree with you, Osama, that healthcare in general, but sterile processing in particular, is really behind the technology curve when you compare it with the hospitality industry or the food industry, or to your point, anything operations related like inventory management. And so there's definitely a lot that we can learn. And I'm assuming in our conversation here about mind mapping that that's the direction that this is going, ways that you've seen this play out in other industries and how it can relate in sterile processing. So let's start off with just a little bit of a definition for our listeners. Can you tell me a little bit about what mind mapping is, maybe how you first stumbled upon it and what you think it has to do with sterile processing?
It was a book that I read many years ago. It's called Mind Mapping by Tony Bozan, I believe. And it's about how to summarize when you do homeworks and when you learn something technical that you can't understand. First, you lay it out in a visual manner that it show you the connection versus when you read it in a linear manner. Again, everybody have different learning style. It might work for me, but it might not work for somebody else. Some people use a linear method. Some people use like different mind maps. It looks like the nerves in the human body, like the same way that it's connected. And it gets complex and complex over time.
I gotcha. And so to summarize that, I'm thinking about what mind mapping might look like. And you say the difference between that linear kind of logic and mind mapping, maybe helping you think outside the box a little bit more. Is it more of like a cloud bubble kind of scatter plot brainstorming session? Is that how you describe it?
I would say that's the style that I use. Think about it, for example, let's say you work in a new department and you train every day in a different area and you have a little notepad. So you know that there's a washer, disinfector that have to be tested daily, that takes 3 kinds of detergent, that had a printout. That printout is a thermal and it's a different size and it's connected to 3 types of detergent from a certain vendor versus the other washer you have in the other area. And it gets serviced by different company. And the protocol for repair is to contact Biomed. So when you lay out all that stuff in one little bubble surrounded by 403 branches, what's the documentation entail to? And if you want to teach somebody else, a fellow tech or a trainee, you sound like you built that machine from scratch, which is mind-blowing because I learn more when I teach than from when I try to teach myself.
I love that example, by the way, of the washer, because it kind of gets my mind racing too of like, what are all the things that's possible to know? You know, this season is about data, right? So like, what are all the data points around this one piece of equipment that you can sketch out in that mind map you mentioned?
You can have the birthday for the washer. Last time it got BM'd. Next time the scheduled PM for the washer. So let's say you can add notes on what kind of repair that's done on it, just briefly. If there's a repetitive pattern of certain repair, you'll be like, oh, I know. That's what happened last time. And you can remember it versus going to 200 pages log, go to when the last time such a thing happened, because it's just briefly summarized and it's on your phone. I know a lot of people have issues with that, but I use my phone for everything.
Yeah.
Which is, I understand the pros and cons of using a phone, but in a leadership or supervisory position, it could be, it's very helpful, let's say, or practical.
So on that practical note, if you're looking at your whole department, right, like you kind of pinpointed like one piece of equipment and you said, okay, like we're going to mind map this washer, but to take a step back and just look at everything in a department, like what are all the things that could be mind mapped, or maybe that you have already mind mapped in your own department?
The whole department, from working stations, computers, scanners, washers, sterilizers, ultrasonics, elevators. If they have an electronic number or asset number, that would be the key for it. So in order for you to submit a repair request, a floor, a room number, so you can just simply, when someone tell you like, oh, washer X, Y, and Z in this department, you have all the information laid out. You can just write the ticket ASAP.
So you mentioned if it has an asset number, and it sounds like a lot of the examples you gave are things that, would be plugged in, they're powered by something. Could you mind map like chemicals?
Absolutely. So let's say, go back to the washer example. With the chemicals, let's say certain detergent have expiration date since the open date. Certain are not. So it's like you write a note under, 90 days, a reference number for reorder if you are involved in purchasing, or the name of the detergent, the brand, the size. It's simple, tiny little bubble, have all this information attached to it. And then you can just, it would be like a maze. You follow the washer to the point that you need what kind of information that pertain to that part.
I imagine all of our educators who are listening in are getting their ears perked up at this sales pitch, because we're always looking for ideas for how do we get people to really be invested in the why behind the things we're doing. You're talking about understanding those connections between these data points on the mind map. And once you understand those connections, you're never going to forget it. And I think that's just a powerful way to describe what we often say on Beyond Clean. Is like, let's go beyond just teaching people what to do and understanding the why behind it. And this sounds like a really powerful tool to be able to do that. So as I'm imagining what this looks like, having mind maps for all pieces of a different equipment, processes, products that are in the department, can you help us get a vision of what that looks like? Is it a sheet of paper that's drawn and posted next to the equipment? Or
honestly, it started as a sheet of paper, like of my notes, and then I started running out of pages, and then those sheets of paper getting bigger and bigger.
I was picturing.
And then I upgraded to a whiteboard, and then it must be a way of doing it the easy way. And I found this multiple software tools that are open source and it's free that can use it, and then start adding all your information with icons, emojis, whatever that visually help you, or a picture, and you can access from your phone. And then if you want to print that whole sheet for just as a blueprint in your desk or in your, or in your department, you can just print it as a PDF file. It gets complex over time. It's not, for the beginning, it was a one center, a circle with 4 or 5 items on it, just so I can know my way around the facility. Oh, today I'm in decon. I have to do 1, 2, and 3. Tomorrow I'm prep and pack. I have to do 4, 5, and 6. And then every day I add more items to it, like the washer example. Oh, is it connected to steam? Does it need the hot water? Does it heat the water? And then you start, does it have RO system connected to it? And then you start understanding everything pertaining to the washer in a way that holistic, that was you will get an understanding of a service repair rep came in and say, the issue is, okay. So you know exactly who to go to, who to talk to. and get the issue resolved or have a better understanding of your equipment.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that holistic view of the department. And it sounds, Osama, like maybe this project kind of started as your brainchild and has grown over time. Can you tell me about how you've gotten the rest of your department involved in this and what interface the frontline technicians have with this mind mapping strategy?
At the beginning, because it looks like a spider web with a lot of information in it, and we're like the enemy of stuff that we don't understand. A lot of projection. Oh, what is this? So what's the purpose of this again? But there's too much stuff in here that doesn't pertain to my job. All I need to do is report to my lead or my supervisor. And then when stuff happened, like, scope need to be sent to repair, and it stayed till the next day because someone wasn't there, someone was absent, someone didn't know the process. So I started making these little ones for repair. For repair, you contact this number, you do this process, you follow this SOP, you check on this IFU that belongs to that type or that the kind. And then people start accepting it staff-wide and management little by little to the point that, hey, I think we should make it on a bigger scale. They start asking for more. I didn't tell nobody that I had it in that complex, but like, hey, yeah, we're working on it. And I was like, yeah. One day I just printed it on a sheet of paper, and we're using it for checklists, for survey preparedness, for so many things, for issues with repair, for quality, for improving workflow. It can be tweaked. There's so many ways, if it works for you, of course, because there's different ways of productivity management that other people are mastered and use versus this method.
So talk to us a little bit about the creation of the initial mind map and then the maintenance of the mind map, because I'm assuming you can do everything about that washer example that you mentioned, right? So like you spend maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. I don't know how long it actually takes to create one of these, right? But
it doesn't take much time, believe me. But if you're doing it from your phone using a certain app, all you got to do is just enter this information. But to connect everything together, that's the hard part.
And then is it an ongoing, like, are you constantly reviewing that mind map every 6 months, every 12 months to make sure that you're updating it or that you're changing things maybe that are not applicable anymore?
Every time I'm in an area, I always check if there's an update, if there's a consumable change, if there's a product change, if there's parts that replaced, if there's a policies change or added. So I just look on my phone. I was like, let's say I'm in prep right now, 2 washers, 3 sterilizers, computer stations. They added the computer stations. I need the assets number for that computer station just in case I want to put a service repair. So I add it next to the computer stations. Is it connected to a paper scanner? Is it connected to a barcode scanner? The assets for that one as well, because everything is worth money and everything is connected. And then when you want to speak about something or get something fixed or repaired or discuss where it is, you need like in which building, in which room, in which floor. So you add all the little things little by little. Before you walk into the room, there's a flow meter. So before you walk into the room, positive or negative air pressure, is the temperature and humidity in check? And then it takes you to another bubble. The sterilizer. Is the test being done? Is there any issues?
I really like the specificity, I guess, that we've been talking about here, that you're getting into details that are beyond just, push this button, set this parameter. It's like, well, what happens if someone's out and you got a question about the process or who do you contact again if the equipment goes down, or even like the scanners and the printers, right? Like how many people have just pulled their hair out because they can't figure out like, how is this connected? What's it connected to? And then how do you troubleshoot that process? But I want to ask you on the training side, again, we're talking to a lot of educators out there through the podcast, and they may say, hey, like, I love this idea for myself because I'm going to understand everything. But how would they use mind mapping that's been done in their training and onboarding and orientation process? How can this tool kind of help through that?
I think a similar product that I've seen many years ago was a big poster for when is qualification testing it's done on a sterilizer by one of those companies. And when I was big, it was hanged next to one of the sterilizer in one of the facilities that I worked in the past. And I will tell you, is it a minor repair? Is it a major repair? What kind of testing you do? Is it 3 and 3 and 3? Is it 2 and 2? Is it just 1? And so you can like address areas based on how critical or how often or how frequent you encounter issue, or because nobody know what to do because the key person wasn't available that day. And you can just create something as a guide for that specific area. You don't have to give the whole details for everything, and because after all, there's jobs and duties and stuff like that. You want the people to do their assignment on daily basis without expanding on other duties that might sound distracting for some reason in terms of productivity or other stuff.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not a fan of institutional knowledge that the way you succeed in the department is just because you've been there for 20 years and you just know how to do it. So as much as we can put resources in front of people, like a flow chart, like that qualification testing poster you talked about, that when something happens, they can go to this resource and answer the bubbles on the flowchart question and know what's the appropriate action to take. I think that can be very powerful. And I think that example is maybe one of using mind mapping to some degree on a process instead of necessarily a piece of equipment, and how what pieces of equipment are tucked together, but what are all the steps in this process and how do they relate to each other and which ones should I go to next? And so this is definitely very all-encompassing. I imagine there's a lot of pieces to the mind mapping in your department. What I'm curious about is maybe what is the hardest process or mind map or piece of the mind map you've had to put together? Or maybe asked another way, what is the biggest challenge that you've encountered in putting these things together?
Being able to rotate in all the areas on regular manners, like weekly or monthly, or because things happen and the dynamics of the department, I don't know. I don't think any similar department to sterile processing, we're similar to the emergency department. You don't know what might happen equipment wise, chemistry wise, people wise, temperature, humidity wise, workflow wise, case volume wise. There's so many elements that change all the time. And sometimes you're not 100% dedicated to keep things updated, or you could be on vacation and things changed, or a key person who used to handle that area that you never thought about or handled, now it's gone or went up or moved to another department, and now you have to learn it from scratch. So having that kind of knowledge is like having a library with all the answers, like a Wikipedia of your department of some sort, that you can just ask a question or just search and you will find relevant information that guides you to the right direction.
Yeah, that description of the ER is an interesting analogy, I think, because, it's not like at the beginning in the interview, like we were talking about the difference between this linear or the traditional linear kind of learning style of, it's this, and this. But in SPD, it's much more depending on the day, 20 million things could be happening. So then how do you navigate that and make those decisions? And I can really see how a tool like this mind mapping, even if the answer, let's just say the answer is not on the mind map yet, if you're familiar enough with the process of mind mapping and your staff is, and you're constantly thinking about all these little bitty data points that can touch this, your mind and your reaction is going to be trained now to not think linearly, to be thinking holistically and out of the box and say, okay, but on all these other mind maps we've done before, we did this way, or we took this step next. And then you've actually got a team that's able to critically think through challenges as they come at them and kind of mind map on the go, if you will. Maybe it's not written down anywhere, but they're reacting to the circumstance, all of the options not just, well, I only know one thing to do. When that thing beeps, I call this guy and this guy's not here, then we're out of luck. Like, what are all those other little inputs, there that happens to the mind map? So really, really interesting interview and concept here, Osama. But I want to close kind of on the future. We like asking this kind of question of Beyond Clean. You're obviously you've been in this mind mapping thing for a couple of years now, and you're kind of implementing it in your department here. But what's the future look like for this concept? Like, how would you see mind mapping continue to involve your own department and potentially impact the industry at large?
It's a visual process to aid, let's say, decision makers in making the right decision based on the assets you have. We don't need to know all the answers, but we need to know at least a general holistic idea before spending all that capital and dedicating resources to one area without knowing what entails to. The washer example. Oh, some washers have a steam line coming to it, and let's say hot water or cold water or RO water. So when, we get a new department, how about we put a washer for you guys there? That way, okay, they will approve it. They'll get a blueprint. So it'll look great. And then the day we start installing something, it's like, oops, the steam line is far, far away, and I don't know how we're going to make it closer, or it's not going to be a super steam, or the RO system is in the other area, or the pressure is not going to be great. I don't think this location from the plumber's point of view and the engineering point of view is great, but in the engineer who wrote the blueprint or the consulting company, it was looking perfect. So it gives you that realistic idea, or it makes you answer the right questions during the planning process. So the implementation process will have less obstacles, hopefully, in a project management point of view. And that's what sometimes we oversee. It's the little things. And when a tech occupied, when the regular technician, people on the floor who do know what they're doing, are occupied with the issue. Let's say 75% of their brain is like, we have this problem, this problem, this problem. Eventually, an answer will fill up their brain. That 25% left, the answer will come up. It's like, hey, just make sure that we have, a spray gun, or make sure we have an RO faucet. We need 2. Don't make the same mistake that we only have 1. Or, hey, the window, can we get the automated one, not the manual one? Or can we go back to the manual one because the automated one have a lot of, it doesn't work for us. Like, you get these inputs from people on the floor while you're trying to make a project of some sort, even moving equipment or streamlining a workflow for better efficiency. It'll make you see the big picture and ask the right questions to get the right answers. That's how I see it. Not a magical solution to solve problems. It's just to make you closer to the answer, closer and closer.
Yeah, it's a tool, and it's useful in terms of building that skill set out in your department. Osama, if you've persuaded any of our hearers to want to dive deeper into this, is there anywhere that you would recommend that they start, maybe to get access to either a tool or to some examples to help get them going in this process?
I would start with the book, because Tony Buzan, Mind Mapping, because it had different styles of mind maps that had only use 1 or 2 that fit different people needs. Some people like colors, some people like it plain, some people like it when it looks like an alien or an octopus, some people like it, like a tree. So it fits different learning styles and different needs in terms of complexity and how to implement it and use it. In terms of tools, just look up just write mind map tool. I use one on my phone. It's called Xmind, and it's really easy to use for someone who's I think, tech savvy. And honestly, one of the younger techs in my department kind of helped me work it out because there's people who are the new generation of sterile processing tech. I think they're the one who's going to start the revolution in terms of how tech savvy and how easy they can adapt to tracking tools or anything computer wise.
Well, Osama, I just want to thank you for sparking these insights and concepts around this topic. And really looking forward to staying connected with you on LinkedIn, and just encourage anyone who's listening to this interview, if you don't already follow Osama, track him down on LinkedIn, Osama Alsadawi. And yeah, we'll continue this conversation on the Beyond Clean pages, potentially do some articles out there about mind mapping some more of these applications, because I know it's going to be one of those topics that just continues to get people's interest through the coming months and years. So I want to thank you today for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much, guys. It was pleasure's mine. And hey, from listener to guest, dream come true. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. And that was Osama Alsadawi, the Assistant Chief of Sterile Processing and Beyond Clean Advisory Group member. Bobby, I don't know about you, but there's interviews that come along occasionally that just really make me sit back and wish we had like 2 hours to dig into a topic. And this was one of those. Like, we made it here in about 30 minutes, but I skipped over a ton of stuff I was curious about.
Yeah, same. I love getting to talk with innovators in the space. And this interview did feel different in kind from the type that we typically have here on the show, but in a good way. And that's why I wanted to ask that summary question at the end, because I've got the itch now. I want to dive deeper into this topic. So I hope it was helpful out there to our listeners. I know it certainly was a good introduction for me.
Yeah, if we get a chance, I may reach out to Osama and just see if he's got any examples of mind maps he's done on equipment or processes, just some that we can maybe attach as bonus content. So we'll see. No promises, but I think that'd be a great kind of example. You know, it's just hard on these kind of things that are very visual by definition to just talk about on a podcast. But this is the beginning, not the end of this conversation around mind mapping. So reach out to Osama, get that book. We'll try to find the link and maybe include that in the show notes as well. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Beyond Clean podcast. We want to thank you all for tuning in each and every week, for fighting dirty out there on the front line. And if you don't already have the Beyond Clean mobile app, you can get the podcast app on your iPhone or your Android device. Just go to the App Store and search for Beyond Clean. If you're into other podcasts around like surgical services, we've got a podcast called First Case. That's for operating room nurses. We've got one called Power Supply. That's for the healthcare supply chain. And we've got one called Transmission Control that talks about infection prevention related topics. We got a lot of podcasts going on, a lot of education out there. They're all on iTunes, all the places that podcasts are. But if you listen to any of our shows and you like it, we'd love to get a 5-star rating and review. Tell folks why you like it and how Beyond Clean has, given you new ideas, encouraged you, inspired you, or maybe even just irritated you about maybe some of the topics we've talked about. We do that too sometimes, but it's for good reasons, to spark debate in the industry to move to positive change. So whatever it is that you like about the show, let people know that in the rating and review. And if you've got ideas for a future guest or topic on the show, we'd love to hear from you. You can shoot us an email at info@beyondclean.net. And a little bit of plug real quick for our YouTube channel. We've just about clocked over 200,000 views on the Beyond Clean YouTube channel. So if you've never went there, go check it out. If you're podcast only, but you didn't realize we had all the videos, we got a ton of video resources and more coming out each and every week. So go check that out. All right. On behalf of Bobby and the whole team here at Beyond Clean, we want to thank you again for listening and tell you keep fighting dirty.